I'd like to welcome our partner Judy Mark from Disability Voices United. We all know she works tirelessly for our community, so please join me in thanking Judy on behalf of the folks with disabilities, their families, and the communities. Thank you.
Thank you, Cam. Welcome. My pen, my Diet Coke, I will survive. Welcome, everybody. It is so wonderful to see you. It's also wonderful to reconvene after our previous two conferences. How many of you were at our conference in 2014, the very first self-determination conference? Wow. How many of you were at the second conference in 2015? Whoa, there's a whole lot. How many of you, this is your first self-determination conference? Wow, that's awesome. All right, excellent. Thank you for coming. Thank you for coming. We are here to learn together. This is not about professionals telling us what we should be doing. This is not about anybody telling us what we should be doing. This is about us learning together. This is a new program. Not everything has been answered yet, and we're going to spend the next 2 days learning together. The self-determination program promises to be a life changer for people with disabilities and a game changer for the system as a whole. At its core is the revolutionary idea that people with disabilities are in charge of their own lives, not the professionals or systems that support them. You know, freedom has a way of being contagious. We've seen that around the world, and it is no different for people with developmental disabilities. And the first 2,500 people who got into the self-determination program will show the rest of us how awesome life can be when you can control your own destiny. The self-determination program has the potential to not only change the lives of the people in it, but it will stimulate discussion on how the traditional system can provide true person-centeredness and choice and control. It's really hard to believe. It's been over 6 years since the self-determination law passed. The jubilation we had when Governor Brown signed the bill turned quickly to the hard work on the application to the federal government for funding and other significant planning. We have already spent much time working on this and learning together, but as you all know, it's been a long process to get the self-determination program up and running, and we are still really not there. Unfortunately, this significant delay has dampened the enthusiasm that many people had. And this has been compounded by what some call the bureaucratization of the program. That means that we have made the self-determination program way more complicated than it needs to be. We are using terms and forms and requirements that make it seem harder than it is, and that is turning people off. It's just so damn frustrating because we know that we have 20 years of the self-determination pilot project. How many of you here have been in self-determination for the last 20 years? We have one pilot participant, 2 pilot participants, 3 pilot participants. Willie West, over there on the right. We know that this program is not difficult and that it can be spectacularly successful. It has meant everything to the McKenzie family. Liz McKenzie has been a pilot participant for almost 2 decades. Her parents told me that they believe that self-determination allowed her valiant and courageous spirit a space to have a life of meaning and contributed to her longevity and quality of life. It literally saved her life. In spite of her fragility, Liz is a rich and beautiful thread in our family tapestry. Liz and her active parents, Bruce, and Liz's mom, Louise, who is the chair of the Tri-County Self-Determination Local Advisory Committee, had hoped to be here with us. But unfortunately, Liz is quite ill, and we send them our prayers. So all of this delay and bureaucracy have led to the likelihood that up to 60% of the 2,500 people selected for the phase-in are unlikely to start the program. Up to 60%. At my own regional center, where we have been ahead of the game on trainings and orientations, I hear from our participants that they don't know what to do next, and the whole thing seems overwhelming. And that is why we're all here. Because the only way that this program will be successful is if we work together to figure it out. Together we can show that it's not that hard and it can be done. That you can be successful in the self-determination program, whether you are a self-advocate on your own in Orange County, or a Spanish-speaking family living in rural Stockton, or a non-speaking person going to college. All of us can thrive through the freedom that comes with self-determination. We must succeed because the traditional system is not working for a lot of people. It doesn't work when individuals are told what is right and not right for them. Even with this conference, a very small expense for a regional center, dozens and dozens of individuals were rejected for funding for this conference. Many, I'm not going to ask you to raise your hands, but I know who you are. Many were told that this conference wasn't right for them because they didn't get into the self-determination program, even though DDS is about to draw new names on November 22nd, and the program goes statewide in a year and a half. And I promise you we will not be doing another one of these in the next year and a half, or my husband will divorce me. So, others were told that this is beyond their IPP, it's too far away, the information is the same as the orientation, or they should just go to their local advisory committee meetings. They'd get the same information there. It's just so odd because we are supposed to be in a new era of person-centeredness in our system, and yet people who want to learn about new ways to meet their goals are still being told what is right for them. I know this is hard. Our developmental disability system has been sailing one way for decades, and now we're trying to change its course, and that won't be easy, so we need everyone's help. And I want to acknowledge those regional centers who funded many of you here. We thank them and we appreciate them. Thank you, regional centers. So we need the help in this room of the incredible self-advocates. Who here is a self-advocate? Who here is a person with disabilities being served by the disability system? Howard, raise your hand high. We need you. First of all, you comprise a quarter of the speakers. A quarter of our speakers here are self-advocates. We don't have just that random panel where we listen to the self-advocates and then we go on to the professionals. They are an integral part of every single panel. And the family members, the parents, who here are parents? Wow, a lot of you. Who here are siblings? We love the siblings. Yes, siblings. Woo. All right, we also know that we have aunts and uncles. Keyshawn, I knew you were gonna raise your hand. There we go, our one uncle. And do we have any grandparents here? I know we have some grandparents. There we are, woo! Family members are over half of the presenters. So the expert, we can be the experts. We don't always have to rely on people with PhDs, although some of our parents have PhDs too. Along with the professionals who we are so grateful that you make this your life's work, we are all going to work together to move this program towards success. I just want to thank a few people because I'm not going to have time to do that for the rest of the conference. It's a hard thing to put this extravaganza together, believe me. I want to start by thanking Christine Shepard, who's probably not expecting this. Thank you. Where are you, Christine? She's way in the back. Christine Shepard called me up or emailed me and called me and said, you know what, this is going to be a great conference, but people are dropping out like flies. You got to make this a fun conference. You got to have people want to be part of this and have a good time. And she inspired me because honestly, it wasn't going to be that fun in the early versions of this. So that's how we got this silent disco, and we're having a show, and we're having a game show. We're having some really super fun panels so that you realize you can actually have fun in self-determination too. Second, I really want to thank our partnership with the Department of Developmental Services and DDS, Nancy Bargeman, Jim Knight, and Liz Harrell in particular, who have been so supportive of this conference. I mean, I've spent a lot of time with Liz Harrell planning this conference, and I so appreciate you. Thank you. I also want to thank the regional centers. I know, those of you who know me, that I hold them to account a lot, but I also appreciate them a lot. And I particularly want to point out two people, Amy Wessling and Gabby Olmstead. Amy, raise your hand. Amy is the head of the Association of Regional Center Agencies. We are sometimes on opposite sides of things, but often on the same side. And she and I are very similar in personality type, and we get along really well. And so we're both very type A, and we each respond to each other really, really fast, and we have a competition of who goes first. I also want to thank my mentor, Sally Burton Hoyle, who's being talked to by Kelly Colgerias. Thank you, Sally. I really consider you my mentor. She's taught me everything I know about person-centered planning. And the amazing affiliation we have with the Autism Society of LA and their executive director, Kim Sinclair, who I work so seamlessly with, that really made this conference a reality. Thank you all. So just a few more things. Disability Voices United, you may never have heard of before this conference. The previous two conferences were sponsored by Autism Society of LA alone. That's because DVU did not exist. Disability Voices United was founded only 2.5 years ago, not even 2.5, a little over 2 years ago. But I feel like we've made a big impact so far. We were founded by very experienced self-advocates and family members who've helped us make a big impact. At this conference, we are thrilled, as you heard from Kim, to bring you a completely new edition of Thinking Outside the Box. We just published earlier this year Profiles in Self-Determination, Inspiration for a Full Life, which profiles 10 children and adults and how they imagine their lives changing under the Self-Determination Program. And today, we are excited to announce, drumroll please, the launch of a website called the Self-Determination Interchange. It is a completely accessible website, so people who have vision impairment are able to access it. This is why you're not going to see a lot of pictures on it, because it is a completely accessible website that offers all the latest information. The minute a DDS directive comes in, we'll have it up there. But the best thing about this website is that it has a forum. The forum gives you an opportunity to ask questions, to recommend, I've got this great provider who's helping my son learn about gymnastics in a completely inclusive setting. You have a chance to ask questions, and you can go on there regularly to get feedback and to offer support to others. So those of you who are looking for an independent facilitator, we have a whole section on independent facilitators on there. So you're going to meet our new fantastic board of directors of Disability Voices United. They're serving as panelists and moderators and everything else I've asked them to do. And though we are small, we also have two amazing staff, Nina and Ed, who support our board in all of our efforts. I just want to acknowledge them right now. Would DVU's board and staff raise your hands so that everybody can see who you are? They're kind of congregated over there mostly. Thank you all. It is like, I feel like you're my people, and when you're not around me, I feel like I'm lost. So I love you guys. And of course, I need to thank my family, who I've been ignoring a bit. Alan, who's my husband over here, isn't he wonderful? He doesn't even want to raise his hand. And my son Joshua, who's not here yet because he's not a morning person, but he will be here, and he's on a panel, which is amazing that he's never done that before, so we're excited. And my daughter Emma, who wishes she could be here, but she's in college in New York. They always support Mommy's ridiculous ideas for giant events. So you're going to be challenged for the next 2 days for self-advocates. You've been told what to do and where to go for too long, but we know that change can be hard, but you're our pioneers, self-advocates. We will follow your lead. For families who are often tired, this self-determination thing seems like it's going to be way too much, but we promise we will hold your hands through this, and we know you can do it. For all the professionals here, raise your hand if you're a professional in the field. Thank you for coming. You have a huge paradigm shift that you have to embrace, but we so appreciate your commitment. We know that we need to hold your hands too, because you have to move away from your traditional role and let the participants and their families be in charge. My commitment is that you will leave this conference with all of your questions answered. Every single question you will have it answered today and tomorrow. You will leave this conference knowing what your next steps are, and you will leave this conference knowing that you can take charge of your life and that the Self-Determination Program can work for you. Thank you.